What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Danny the Bull back with another live stream with the homie Kyle Willson in the house. What's going on, Kyle?
Hey, Danny, what's good, man? Happy to be here today and jump into some of these gaming tokens, man.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to chatting with you because I know you've been, so deep in this space, in this whole gaming space for a long time now. You've been doing, I remember chatting with you well over a year ago, and you're talking about Neo Tokyo, you're talking about all these projects, Wagmi, and all these things. And I was just kind of like, shrugging you off. And now we're getting into the heated market, and you see it's becoming very clear that gaming is the sector right now that's hot, and I think is going to be hot for the next bull run. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, to me, it's just a no-brainer when you look at use cases for not only blockchain but NFTs as well. You kind of zoom out a little bit too. So you look at Web 2 games right now, CS:GO, for example. They have skins in games that are going for tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's just Web 2, and you don't even own those assets outright. And the natural progression of games as well is free to play. The problem with free to play for Web 2 is it's a grind to literal zero. I mean, the game developers, when you're launching a free to play game, how are you going to generate revenue on a consistent basis when your model is literally free, right? So that's the question that they're asking themselves right now. And they're looking at Web3 as a viable actual model moving forward, especially given that a lot of the royalty situation is being solved right now, moving forward. And so I think this is the future because you look at peer-to-peer transactions and how they will sell these assets in marketplaces to earn royalties in their games. Then they're going to generate a lot of revenue, not just on their secondary marketplace. That, if you look at a platform like Vivi, that's exactly what Vivi's doing. So it's not like rocket science here. You just do that in the gaming sense of things. Gaming's already free to play, or at least dominant. I think it makes up like 70% of games right now in the entire like space period, like in Web 2. So it's just a matter of time before they realize like, oh, we have to not only do like we're looking at Web 3, but we literally have to go to Web 3. But as a use case, like it's a perfect use case, hand in hand, microtransactions, all of it. You're going to have a lot of on-chain like activity in some of these games that pop off. But we're here early, and it's an exciting time to be in Web3 gaming right now.
Yeah, it's super exciting. We were just chatting right before we got on here about how nice it is to see these gains in the portfolios when we've been conditioned over the last year and a half to just we've been so beaten down. What are your thoughts on this early run up? Are you buying things? Are you going to sit back and wait? What's your strategy been so far, and what's it going to be moving forward?
It's just patience. Like the obvious play was to get in early and kind of like, listen to kind of these alpha callers. Like you look at Becker, Elio, myself, and Hustlepedia, and kind of the guys that are always, kind of harping on this. And if you got in early, that was good. Now you're a part of like that first little uptick. Now it's kind of figuring out where's a good entry, right? And I think that's where a lot of people are looking at right now. Like you could take a little bit off the table and do some rotations here. But I think that for me, it's just like, hey, let's wait and see for just a second and then see if the market does decide to kind of pull back a little bit. And if it doesn't, then we might as well make some entries on some good, solid blue chip tokens. You look at what Solana's doing, you look at what AVAX is doing. These are some solid infrastructure type tokens. And there's many other gaming specific tokens out there that, specialize in Web3 gaming. And those are also great picks. IMX, Ronin Chain, many others out there, Myriad, I think there's what's it called? G Swift, I believe, as well.
G
Another
Swift,
layer
yeah.
two.
G
Yeah.
Swift.
So there's a lot of, going to be not only subnets, I mean, Beam, look at Beam. So not only layer twos, but these subnets. So I think AVAX is going to be a clear winner. It's going to follow like what Becker said. Like that was already my thesis before Becker started tweeting all this stuff is, just being in the research, doing what I do. For me, it's just the natural progression of things.
Yeah, what's going on over there on AVAX? Because I'm not really familiar. I mean, I'm big in Solana. I've been hodling Solana and accumulating for a while, but I haven't really been on top of AVAX.
Yeah, so AVAX is very interesting. Okay, so you look at AVAX almost like the layer one, kind of Ethereum. I mean, it was designed anyways to like basically be a quote unquote Ethereum killer, in the sense that transactions are fast, the settlements fast, all that. Then you have like the subnets, which are kind of like the layer two. So subnets, except that the subnets are actually on chain. So it's a really interesting dynamic. So some games will naturally opt for one or the other, layer two or like an immutable X given their use case. Or if they need something more custom, then naturally they'll go to a subnet. And so that's why I see these plans as kind of like an obvious thing right now. And again, it's going to come down to the game. If the game just wants to out of the box, like have no gas, they don't even want to deal with it. They don't want to even think about it. They might just go with IMX or a layer two like IMX. But if they need a specific custom, solution that their developers can build around and make sure that it fits with their game, then the subnet's going to be the natural selection here. And that's what we're seeing. You look at Off the Grid and what they needed. They just released a little bit of alpha, and they have a dedicated marketplace and they're going to have a subnet built around that game and it's going to be called Gun. Or at least a token's Gun, and then the subnet I think might be called Guns. But that's a little bit of alpha there. The token's not even out. Off the Grid's going to be one of the the largest AAA shooters in Web3 gaming right now. But they're building on Avalanche. There's just a lot of interesting use cases. Merit Circle, one of the largest Web3 gaming DAOs in the entire space. They decided to launch a subnet that is really customized for onboarding games into Beam. So it's it's almost like a little IMX inside of Avalanche itself, in the sense that they're helping onboard games without them having to think about it themselves. So it really is going to be a case by case basis where these games go. As we saw Pixels, they moved from Polygon to Ronin chain because Ronin has experience with a lot of user activity. And so again, it's going to come down to where these games feel like they fit the best. And I see these as all clear winners. I think in a full bull market, when you have, the next $1 trillion coming into the space, a lot of this is going to filter down to these infrastructure type tokens.
Yeah, you don't even have to go all the way down the risk curve to make solid gains here, right? You can play those big boys like Solana, AVAX, etc. IMX, which isn't it's not necessarily it's not big. It's got so much runway ahead of it. I think it's like a $2 billion market cap or something like this. I think IMX can still be a big winner this cycle.
Yeah, IMX, I mean, it still has legs, of course, especially if they start activating a lot of their games over there inside the ecosystem. I mean, I've looked into a lot of the games specifically, and they have a lot of AAA devs like building games inside IMX. I mean, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. It's like EVG Tactics or something, or Scouts, or maybe that's the name of their collection. But the developers for he's the Tencent. I think he was like the president of Tencent or something. It was like something crazy. That's just one example. They have like a lot of those examples. Like I remember Parallel started on IMX. Like now look at Parallel. Parallel, I think, is building on a couple other chains as well, with different assets. But the point being is, they've attracted a lot of talent inside that ecosystem. And same thing with AVAX. And Solana is also a low key sleeper when it comes to gaming as well.
Yeah, and Solana's got Star Atlas out there. Star Atlas looks awesome.
Yeah,
I'm not a gamer, so my opinion doesn't matter much. But I'm like 46, so when I saw it, it looked great.
Yeah, so Star Atlas probably will take a while to build, but I think the more important thing to notate about Star Atlas is they're building a suite of games now. So they're coming out with a mobile game that is a move. It's a move to earn, so it's kind of like a step in, but it integrates their avatars in the actual mobile app. So as you are moving and working out and doing your thing, you can actually upgrade your avatar, and you can use the avatar in the game in the future.
Wow.
So it's like this cool integrated dynamic that they're thinking of ways to obviously build around their IP, their brand, and their game. And they also have an on-chain, one of the first on-chain games called Sage. It's from Sage Labs, and it's like a mini Star Atlas where it's basically like a clicker, and it's like an idle clicker. Basically, you just click where you want your ship to go, and each recorded movement is recorded on chain. And it absorbs, in some cases, it's absorbed up to 15 to like 17% of the entire Solana blockchain. that little on-chain game. It's just a little clicker idle or idle clicker game. But you wouldn't know, unless you looked it up the transactions, and that surpassed Polygon's entire transactions and volume back like last month or something like that.
So will those like Star Atlas things be out ahead of the game?
So yeah, those games are already kind of out. I know the mobile game, I don't know when they're launching that one specifically, but you can play the Sage game already. That one's going to be already available. I can't remember the Sage. I think actually stands for something. If I remember right, there's just so many games I'm looking at, so it's hard to remember all the fine details. But yeah, that one's already available, and they put loot inside this like little space. It's just like a map of like the universe. But you can actually find like rare loot, and like you can actually get ships that could be worth like thousands of dollars. So that's why a lot of people are playing this game now, because it's like you're getting in early. You could win, like you could get a very rare asset that you could use in the game, that will further make you maybe one day actually make even more money from there. So there's just a lot of like in-game economy that some of these games are bringing to the table that weren't possible before. And that's why people like Star Atlas, because the governance side of thing, but the in-game like economy is literally like built like a metaverse is what they're trying to get, build towards at least.
Yeah. And Chem has a question here about Off the Grid. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Off the Grid, that's the one I was referring to on the AVAX, that
Okay.
subnet. They're launching their own subnet called Guns, and they have the token called Gun. And then I can't remember the exact website, but you can actually look at the website that they built. Again, I don't know at the top of my head, but it shows like their NFTs. It doesn't even list Off the Grid on there, so it's like it really is like early alpha, but they actually built that. So Off the Grid, I can't remember what is the Gunzilla is the developer
Oh,
of that.
Godzilla. Yeah, I've heard about. I just caught my attention. Godzilla.
Yeah, Gunzilla is the parent studio
Yeah.
that is building Off the Grid. And Gunzilla, that's why they call it, the Guns subnet, because Gunzilla. So obviously Off the Grid's going to be in there as their first game, because they have like all the pictures literally built on their website that showcase their marketplace that's going to be coming out soon.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
You mentioned metaverse. What do you think about that narrative heading into the cycle? Dead narrative, or you think it'll like revive again?
Oh, definitely revive. I've never actually been down on metaverse. I've always said it's not like we're already in the metaverse. Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you like? So the narrative, I get stockholders are a little bit apprehensive, but usually on the institutional side, those are a lot of older people, like with that money that is able to move it around. And of course, it looked like they had to take a risky bet on like the Zuckerberg, for example.
Yeah.
But they just don't realize where the trajectory of things were going. Last year, I kept saying Nvidia's undervalued. A lot of the macro guys were disagreeing because they're like, oh, Nvidia, like it's all they saw Nvidia was as a like chip maker, a GPU maker. They didn't see that Nvidia was building this giant AI infrastructure behind the scenes, literally the largest GPU in the world. They have this supercluster GPU that powers ChatGPT. I mean, they are the backbone of ChatGPT right now, and they're the backbone of the metaverse. And so a lot of these investors don't know what they're talking about half the time, because they're either too old. But look, guess what? They got educated, and Meta stock went right back up. Right now, it's like now it's very healthy right now. So I was never down on the metaverse. I always thought the metaverse was always going to come back to the front. And you look at Mark Zuckerberg's, his whole interview with Lex Friedman, and everybody had these aha moments finally when they had that MetaQuest 3 headset on,
Yeah.
and they were looking at each other in super high fidelity with ultra high realistic avatars. And finally, after all these years, people were finally having these aha moments for the very first time when they were watching that interview. So yeah, it's very much alive, and it's not going to go away. And as a matter of fact, it's going to come back into the front of people's attentions again as we move forward.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. A lot of small tokens have been popping off lately. Some of them are becoming some bigger cap. You got Nakamoto and Miria is moving up quite a bit. What are your thoughts on some of these plays? Have you looked into them? Have you been buying, or do you hold any of them?
Yeah, so I have a slew of Miria like NFTs for hopefully the day they try to bring out some utility. So I bought a pretty massive bag on Miria. I don't have a lot of their tokens, but I definitely need to pick it up here pretty soon before we go full bull. Nakamoto, I've always been excited. So with Miria too, they have nodes. So I've actually really considered of getting a node.
You didn't pick
And
one
I
up?
know I didn't pick one up yet.
Yeah.
So I'm very on the fences of that because that could be just a very long-term play. Although, obviously if they do, I don't know if the nodes are actually officially live yet to be minting tokens.
I think they
Uh,
are. Yeah. Someone I know was getting paid out in Miria months ago.
okay, good. So
Yeah.
yeah, so they're out. I saw that they launched them. I just wasn't sure if they're live on their system. Um, So that's going to be, that could be a good play there because we're early. If you look at Gala games back when nodes were super cheap and now nodes are like, 80, 90 grand. Granted that they kind of like rugged a little bit on the nodes in the sense that you can't like resell them. I don't think anymore. And they did a couple other things around nodes that I didn't like. So it kind of centralized the voting power and forced like creators kind of out. I didn't really like that aspect. Still excited about
Gala caught
Gala
a
though.
lot of heat. Gala caught a lot of heat over the last few months I've seen.
Yeah, they had the founders kind of suing each other. I
Yeah.
don't know how many founders they have, but that was an issue. Not to say that I'm not bullish on Gala. I think they'll be fine long term. I think there's going to be a place for them. I think they'll be fine. Um, and going back to Miria and Nakamoto. So Nakamoto, I haven't dug super deep, but I do like that they have integrated with Telegram. They have mini games. They're going after the mobile market, and they released on iOS and Android, I believe, as well. So when you look at mobile games, they take up 70% of the market share in Web 2 gaming. So a lot of people don't know that. So mobile games have a huge high propensity to be massive in Web 3.
Yeah. Yeah. I do like Nakamoto. I saw they have strong leadership. It seems they have a bunch of games I think that are already out. Games for a Living is another one that has I think the guy from King Barcelona, the co-founder of King Barcelona, which is I think the biggest mobile gaming app, right? They created Candy Crush. He's one of the founders of Game for a Living alongside the founder of EA Sports.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's a lot of big names in the space right now. Solana has a guy over there. I think he's going to be building an app. He's worked for like Xbox. And so you're seeing a lot of like these bigwigs come in, games for a living. That's on a lot of people's radar. That's not on my list that I've bought yet, but it is exciting. That is a good one. Yeah, I didn't know that actually about games for a living. I've only did service level research on that one. But other tokens I'm really excited about are, I think again, Axie pumped. I've been covering Axie for months on over on PBN and in the Substack, and it went parabolic. Ronin Chain, Illuvium, Beam, even Engine Coin I think could resurface here. It's been popping back up in the market, the OG
Yeah,
blockchain.
I remember Engine Coin was so hot last cycle, and I haven't really
Yeah.
heard much about it. Isn't that kind of like an infrastructure play within?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So infrastructure, they've worked with what was it, Final Fantasy to drop those fidgetals. So they're one of the like OG fidgetal drops in the space with NFTs. They've done some NFT drops. Taps back in the day, he used to be bullish on Engine still.
Yeah.
I don't know what where Taps is at, but I know he liked Engine a lot. They recently launched their mainnet again, so I don't know what the whole thing was with Engine. I guess they had to. I guess what's taking them so long is just to relaunch a mainnet. So, but anyways, if they could resurface again, that could be a nice little infrastructure play. They're one of the OGs with the vision for Web3 gaming specifically to begin with, before all these tokens we're talking about even existed. So I wouldn't sleep on them, and I don't think the market's really sleeping on them either. If you look at their charts, it's gone up just in the last like 7 days, like 4%, the last month 10%. So they've been kind of on the uptrend and kind of consolidating a little bit sideways. So could still be a good pickup for Engine too. If you're looking at an infrastructure play.
Yeah, they're at a 300 million market cap. Remember, Elio Trades was big on Engine last cycle.
Yeah, I think again, like some of these are they're gonna pump just because Web3 gaming's hot again, and like 300 million might seem like a lot, but that's an easy bill or 10 bill in a full bull cycle. So some of these plays we're talking about, they may seem like they're big market caps, but in all reality, they have a lot of legs to move up. So
Yeah, and Becker said that recently that the total market cap of the whole gaming sector is something like $15 billion, and coins like Shiba put those moves in daily in the proper bull market.
yeah, if you think of it like that, some of these tokens are going to definitely move. I like not only infrastructure plays but studio plays as well. Vulcan Forge is kind of both. Vulcan Forge are building. They have they're going to launch the lava token. They have nodes as well that are going to be like minting, lava tokens and all that. So people who own like these super nodes will get like the most maximum benefit over on Vulcan Forge. And they have like a couple of their own titles, the games that they're building. So they're kind of like a dual like studio slash infrastructure token. And then Miri is kind of similar. They have their own titles. Even IMX has their own studio. So I like a little bit of both, right? It's kind of like Illuvium. You look at Illuvium, they're building a suite of games long term. So it's not just one game. Like people just automatically, when they think of Illuvium, they think of like the overworld and capturing Illuvium. But I'm like, no, they're building an actual like suite of games, sort of like what Star Atlas is kind of doing.
Yeah, and those are the plays that I'm gravitating towards, because I like like an ecosystem, and this way, if one game pops off, you're not reliant on just one game becoming popular.
Right, exactly. Yeah, it's less risk too. So, when some of these like one-off games that are truly just one-off games can be a little bit more risky for sure. I guess I don't want to name names on the stream because you never know what game could be watching, but yeah, some of them are a little bit more risky when you're looking at those one-off games. What's that?
Do it, man.
do it. Yeah, I actually got to reshare this. I'll reshare this stream actually.
Yeah, do that too. Yeah, you don't need other communities funding you.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I just got into Wagmi, G Swift. Those are a couple of plays that I just picked up. You had mentioned Wagmi, I think, when we were talking last week. Is that something that you like? I know Alex Becker just mentioned them. They got a cosign from Neo Tokyo, correct?
Yeah. So it looks like Alex Becker is going to be the advisor to Wagmi. I've always been in touch with the Wagmi guys for a while, helped them with a couple of things on the back end. And so I really do like what they're doing. A lot of people were fading them very early on just because people really just don't understand development. They don't understand building like a game or IP. And a lot of people just kind of discounted these guys. They're like, oh, I see. I don't like what I see. I'm like, it's too early. You can't you can't just write off projects because they're early building. You have to zoom out like an actual investor. You got to think of it like Shark Tank, for example. Like you have to give these entrepreneurs a chance to do something, given that the capital that they raise and where they're going, if they have the hustle, the motivation, the drive, the experience, and they're bringing on very smart people around them to build with them, they could have a solid chance. And I think that's what they've shown best. And it been really showcasing. They've been on all these shows now, these crypto shows. They've been out there. They're going to all these shows. Like Scott's over there dressing up like a giant, robot. And so, those are the projects that I like. Grit, hustle, and they're bringing on people to their team, and they have a good trajectory. And that's what I like to take a kind of a bet on people. More so than anything else. Sometimes.
How long have you been following them for?
It's been a while. Gosh, I can't even remember. It's been a year plus, maybe. At one point I was trying to get them to integrate the OMI token a long time ago, and I don't know where the talks kind of ended there, but I know I connected them, but
They were David.
Yeah, I don't know if David. I just got them, I think, in touch with Reese and all that, but yeah. So that was a while back for sure, and Scott's a big fan of collectibles already. His background looks like yours. He's got these giant Dragon Ball Z statues. Literally, they're like this tall behind him and his like background in studio. So we clicked really well, and I introed him to other collectors in the space as well. And Scott is just, I love Scott, man. He's just a stand-up guy. He's always out there, like, he'll DM you back like right on the spot. Like he doesn't wait like days and weeks like some of these other founders and leaders in the space. Like he'll just DM you right away.
What's
So
his background prior
so
to Wagmi?
yeah, he's a big content creator. So he's built like a giant community around like a game, mobile games and things like that. He also has a huge fitness channel. So he does fitness and mobile gaming. And so he's got a lot of experience in social media and building community. And that's exactly what he's doing for Wagmi. But IN is more on the business front. So you have kind of like peanut butter and jelly kind of mixture there. Some people don't like Wagmi for, because their name, they can't get past the name.
Yeah.
But I can. I mean, like anybody, I mean, at any point in time, if they wanted to, they could change the name overnight. So I'm not exactly like going to discount these guys because the name, it's like they have the hustle and drive, and that's what I like to look at.
If the product is solid, then the name won't matter. People get used to the name.
Yeah, and I've tried their game, and it's definitely repeatable, and it's got a pretty good game loop. So from the gaming side, it's fun, man. I've had a blast on their streams before. So
they have one game out.
Yeah, so I mean, they're a lot farther along than a lot of the other mobile games in the space, and they have collectibles, cards. I mean, physical comics for their collectors, and they already have like a monthly drop package that they're gonna do for people that have some of their NFTs, and so they have like a lot of dynamics going on around their game too. And who knows, if this game pops off, I could see them definitely building a suite of games around their IP.
Yeah. Chem has a question for you here. You probably know about Hello Labs and their TV show Killer Whales that will air in January. He recently started a Telegram group to collectively research which projects will be aired. Are there any projects you know or think will be on season 1? Are you familiar with that?
Killer Whales? Yeah. So Hello Labs. Yeah. So I don't know exactly what projects will be on that show. To me, it's like we should already be knowing kind of the projects that are going to be on there anyways right now, especially around gaming. I think like you just go to CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, you can literally just go to the gaming section and you can see all the tokens we're actually talking about. And everybody does the same thing. So, like the bigger influencers like Hustlepedia, that's literally the list he pulls up like on all of his videos. And I've been doing that for years and years before really there's any content creators in the space in general anyways. So that's a little hack there. If you didn't know that, now you do. It's free on both of those websites.
Nice. Jojo asks if you like Shrapnel.
Oh yeah, I've been in Shrapnel almost a year, coming up on a year. I bought an operator when it was like $30. A couple operators. I think they're now like 400 or something. They keep going up. And I bought like a bag of their it's called a SCU container, which is like their in-game cosmetics that will also have utility. So I bought a bag of those because I said, what the heck, if this pops off, and it did, and it's still going to, of course, but if this does pop off any further, if I pull like a rare cosmetic and it could be worth, 10 grand right off the bat because it's rare. So I bought like a bag of those, and those were like $10. And now I think they're like 70 or 80 to buy now. So I should have bought more because I feel like I could have treated it like a stock and just bought like 100 of them. And then they go up to 7, 8X and, sell like, 90% of them off and just keep 10%. I should have done that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I like Shrapnel.
What does an operator do? Is that like a node?
It's their founder NFT. So it kind of granted you early access to their game alpha test. And I'm sure they'll do other stuff around that too. So we'll see what they do. I know they're kind of like really eyeing the regulation side of things. So they're trying to be really careful. I also got an airdrop of like 2,000 shrapnel, which is their token for having, I don't know if they gave me 2,000 a piece, but I know they gave me like at least 2,000 for the operators that I did own. And they gave me a heavy extraction bundle, which gives me access to the game. But that'll be like a character, cosmetic, and all the different items that come with that package. But I think that's like $100 value for free.
Nice. What about have you looked into MCAD or playable games?
Playable, yeah. I haven't done massive research, and I know Playable, like Hustle's been really into that one super early. They have the nodes. It's like a family owned kind of like operated type of platform versus like, you don't. It seems like you'd have to worry a little bit less to some regard. The founders not suing each other, so, which is good right now. I mean, unfortunately, that I don't know why that's happened in the gaming space twice now, but apparently,
what's the other one besides Gala?
So Shrapnel had a little bit of FUD there for a second. The founder, or one of the like guys that was a part of the parent company of Shrapnel, I guess he didn't want to give like company shares and just disperse those because he'd lose like essentially control over the company, and he was trying to pay off like personal debt. So he did he was trying to do a hostile takeover of the parent company of Shrapnel. So he was trying to like assume all this. It was just very weird deal, but apparently it sounds like they've kind of won. Shrapnel's team has won in court against this kind of hostile founder. So the tokens like went back up. So a lot of people are big fans of Shrapnel. A lot of people were taking to Twitter and saying like, I fully support Shrapnel, stand behind Shrapnel. So it didn't get as much FUD like Gala did.
Yeah. Where do you think the valuations of these things go next cycle? A lot of the metaverse tokens last cycle, I think like what Mana hit maybe 9 or 10 billion, Sand I think hit 7. Where do you see these things going? Do you think that they'll be in that same range, or you think that this time could be even bigger because of like the institutional money coming in and the space as a whole just maturing and growing, and the whole, the value of the whole asset class, right? All of crypto is going to continue to go up.
Yeah, like these metaverse plays, I think are pretty simple and straightforward. Sandbox, I think, takes a lot of the kind of that Roblox, Minecraft type of market and share. Decentraland is a little bit higher fidelity / gamey still. So those could perform pretty well. I do like Sand a little bit better as time goes on. The more I learned about it, the more you figure out that they actually do have like a lot of daily active wallets in gamers in the Sandbox. So I could definitely see that being like, especially as it matures, you have more gamers and more people building in the Sandbox, and you have more events going on in there. People are just goofing off and having fun, which is like what it was meant to be in the first place. I think we'll see a little bit more adoption around the Sandbox as time goes on. So I'm a little bit more bullish on that one than Decentraland. Although, Decentraland, who knows? I mean, it's been tracking with Sand like hand in hand on the market cap. So maybe it's institutional money kind of tying those two together. I've seen a lot of tickers nowadays like putting bags of like projects in their portfolios, and it's like kind of auto managed in a sense. And it just seems like Decentraland tracks pretty closely with the Sandbox. They
ride the wave. Yeah, they just ride the wave.
Yeah, exactly. So they could just benefit from the Sandbox pretty much, it seems like.
My question was, though, do you think that these coins will top out higher this cycle, like 15-20 billion dollars, as opposed to the 5 to 10 that we were seeing last cycle?
Yeah, I think we could for sure. I definitely think this cycle is much different from the others, especially from my experience in the space. Before, it was just kind of like we're praying and hoping institutional money comes in. And then we've witnessed like the bull markets of the past that were it felt like they were awesome. Like, oh my gosh, for the very first time, the market cap's a trillion, and we're like celebrating like, oh my gosh, can't even believe this. But we're not even a full bull market yet. And we're at 1 point, almost 5 trillion right now. Like we have so much. I mean, this cycle is going to be massive. I mean, of course. So yeah, I think of course that we could see these go past all-time highs. Just institutional money coming in. I think regulation is going to get there. Even if regulation takes another 4 or 5 years, it's again, this is the beginning of like, it could be a super cycle, the biggest one we've seen. And even then that kind of like, the low, like the highs might even persist. What we thought was a high could just be end up being a support level for the future. So it just keeps
Yeah.
building and build it, the blue chips rise to the top and they just stay consistent, and it's going to be like the S&P 500, or the of crypto. And I think that's what we'll start seeing in the future. And then we're of course still early, so it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I totally agree, because I was tracking, I was looking at historical market caps and looking at like the 2017 cycle. There were, or this last cycle, there were like 100 and maybe 10 coins that topped out at $1 billion market cap. If you went back to the previous cycle, there were only like 25 or whatever. So, and the top 10, like we were seeing market caps last cycle of 30, 40 billion dollars. The previous cycle, beyond the top 7, everything was sub $10 billion. So, it stands to reason that we're going to see some of these gaming tokens perhaps, being valued at twice the market cap of something like, Sand and Mana and Axie last cycle, which is really exciting. But then, what's your play long-term in terms of, making a long-term strategy and figuring out how to navigate it and like exit in time?
Yeah, so for me, it's not necessarily the exit. It's it's going to be I guess I would say the merging, or I don't know the right terminology for that. It'll come to me after the stream, I'm sure, but or consolidation. So consolidation is my strategy. So yes, there's a little bit of exit, but the exit strategy would be to go into like a Bitcoin, because I do think Bitcoin is going to be, I mean, it already is it's been resilient during this bear market. A lot of people thought it was just going to crater. And then at one point I was kind of on the board with that capitulation. But then at one point I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Bitcoin is not going down anymore, guys. Like this is my opinion is completely changed on Bitcoin. It's been super resilient. And not only that, like it like you look at the banks crashing, it held up pretty good there. So my strategy is going to be, look at some of these Web3 games. Maybe I'll stay in a couple of infrastructure, or, a game I might have like a lot of conviction around or something like that. But like for the more riskier ones, I might take that completely, like those 10x, 20x gains off the table, and throw that right into Bitcoin and park it right there. And if Bitcoin rips, then that's going to be a nice little a nest egg there. And just with inflation, I mean, guys, come on. Like if you look at the charts, money just keeps being printed. If you like, the gold outperforms, the US dollar charts for years and years. Well, Bitcoin's the new gold, and it's just going to continue to hold and hedge against inflation. And then after Bitcoin's done pumping, for the most part, you put some of that in cash, or take games slowly off the table, DCA out a little bit. So you have that dry powder for the next cycle. And just kind of rinse and repeat a little bit on that. Look at it as a true investor would. And even that could be more risky for people out there. They might even take more in cash and less in Bitcoin, and keep some of their equity or their liquid in cash, USD. So.
Yeah, I think this is my, I loaded up a lot on Bitcoin, Ethereum, the heavyweights, and Solana, a lot on Solana during the bear. And now I'm shifting some of that into all these small caps now, and these micro caps. And I'm catching all these nice gains, and my plan is to ride them up. And there are some that I don't have any conviction in. I bought one, I think it was Vemp, VEMP. It's a gaming like app or whatever. It had like a $3 billion market cap. I wrote it up, I think like 200%, took profits and put it into like, something like Nakamoto. I forgot where I put it, but that's kind of my play, is to find these small tokens that are just going to ride the wave, take profits into more high conviction, long-term plays for the cycle, but then consolidate back into USD and Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, that strategy right there, you nailed it on the head. It's all about knowing how to move money around, and then also knowing narratives. So if you know those two different things, like the trend is your friend, and if you can capitalize on that, you can build a lot of wealth there. And that's the name of the game right there. And a lot of people, get too emotional about a certain project or token. And I've been there myself, many times, and kind of held a couple tokens, down to where I was like, dang it, I knew I should have like taken a little gain there and rotated into a Bitcoin or an Ethereum. But You know, sometimes you just learn. I mean, that's a part of it too, is the learning process, and figuring out, you know, especially trading, you have to take emotions off the table, and just think about like, okay, this is myself. Like I need to take profits and gains for myself, and my family, and do what's best, you know, number one for that, and not for like to be a fan, you know, so that comes into play too.
Yeah. Did you sell your OMI, or are you still holding some?
Uh, Unfortunately, I sold my Omi. So I was trading my last bag of it, on the charts, and you know, I first saw that the token was going to go down, and I kept trying to like, you know, softly and gently, like, hey guys, I think this is going to go down. Kind of like, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want people to
Sure.
think I was like fudding or
Oh,
anything
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. But I did sell my bag because I figured it was going to go down, and it went down further than I expected. But uh, not to say that I won't buy back, because you never know. Like I mean, remember at one point everybody thought Doge was dead, and I was like, hey, the charts are looking fire right now. So I jumped into Doge, and literally a week later, Elon Musk tweets about this back in like 2021, and then it just rocket ships up. So sometimes, I'll look at dead charts, or I call them dead, but they're not literally dead, of course. But I'll look at like projects that are
Sleeping.
still kind of, yeah, they're sleeping. They're on the low. They're still building. There's just like people aren't hyping them up yet. The consolidation is complete sideways, and then the volume is super low. I'm like, this token could rip at any time. Not only just not because like people are like, oh, we're super bullish on it all of a sudden. It's just I look at it from a technical analysis as a trader. And sometimes I'm able to get into a lot of those different, even in stock market, you know, when GME, AMC were popping off. I got
Yeah.
into AMC before it popped off as
Yeah, me
well.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, wow, like they have a lot of FUD. They have like people are thinking they're going bankrupt. And as soon as like they announce like a restructuring and a raise, and I was like, this is a nice play. And it did like a 17x or something crazy.
Yeah. And what about on the VV side? You're still holding your collectibles, or did you cash out?
I cashed out a couple of grails, but I still have a bag of collectibles. I mean, they're not like worth a ton of money, but you know, if you know, if the collectibles start doing well again, you know, then they'll be worth a little bit there. But yeah, so I still hold a little bit. I think I'm like a diamond rank 2, but I don't even know. I don't know if it's tracking properly, so I don't know if that's correct or not. But I hold like mainly. I still have like some low mint comics that I got for like super cheap. I'm shocked that people were selling them for cheap. That would be considered like grails in the IRL side of things, but there's probably good plays in the app. I'm not very active on the app anymore though.
Yeah. And Sound Money says too many opportunities in this market for just one token, and that is 100% correct. And I think it is important not to. I obviously like Omi. I like the project. I like the narrative behind it. You know, the partnerships, everything that we know, everything that we liked about it, that you liked about it, right? That everyone got into it for. But it's important to understand how the markets work. And crypto is hype driven, speculation driven, shiny new toy driven. And people want that new narrative. They're going to ride things up from the bottom. And, you know, I think something like Omi, that has bag holders from last cycle who are holding bags, they're going to look to sell along the way. You might not get the upside that you're going to get on these new tokens that have, you know, no baggage on them, and just, you know, they're the shiny new toy.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, narrative and hype are really important. It's a metric that like, yeah, it's not the best. Like it's one of those things. It's like, it's kind of like one of those, you don't like to use that metric, but it's real. Like it's a real
Yeah.
thing in crypto. And stocks, even stocks sometimes too, they get speculative in nature. I mean, a lot of that can be hype driven as well. Like you look at Nvidia, what happened after people finally had their aha moments around AI. A lot of institutional investors got FOMO, and that was a lot of narrative driven. And a lot of those AI stocks pumped hard. And we're talking about a scale
Yeah.
that like me and you could like billions and billions of dollars, like, you know, these giant $1 billion hedge funds getting into these stocks, and that's just on another level of narrative and FOMO that crypto hasn't seen yet. And I do think long term, some of these tokens will perform very, very well if you just hold on to them on select. I mean, it's going to be very select coins out there. But like what me and you were saying is like rotating back into some of the more solid infrastructure plays out there. The next like Apple, the next Amazon, and the next, kind of Silicon Valley level infrastructure type of token.
Yeah, I think that's the play. You make the moves on these short term narratives, right? This next year or two is going to be explosive, I think, for gaming, AI, and whatever other sectors. Real world assets looks hot, but then you take those profits and you put them into your high conviction plays and ride those long term.
Exactly. And we're still super early, like especially looking at Solana AVAX. Like Solana's got the Fire Dancer that's scaling up Solana, and Visa looking at Solana Pay. Then you look at AVAX. Yeah, and you look at AVAX as well. JP Morgan's kind of like testing their subnets. You have Citi testing a subnet. You have all these banks testing. So it's like you look at those two different types of tokens and how they could perform long term. And to me, it just makes sense, right? It's like that's literally driving transactions on chain, which in turn benefits the holders. And it's just a win-win for the long term, as well. So it's like the first time we can actually invest in a real infrastructure like that. I don't think previously it's not like you could really, I'm going to invest into the internet. Like you need a stock ticker and a company to do that. But like now it's like, no, you're investing into the actual literal,
right. The literal, correct, into the chains, literally.
Yeah, the literal actual asset and infrastructure you actually hold it in a wallet. So it's just like never been done before. And I think that's the exciting thing about crypto.
Yeah, super exciting. Did it deter you from, because a lot of people hated on Solana, because of the breakdowns and things like that. Did that stuff deter you, or did you shrug it off and just look at, who's using it and what can it do?
Yeah, it was concerning for sure. I was probably one of the ones kind of goofing off a little bit about Solana myself. I didn't entirely fade it though. I saw that the community, especially the NFT side, was really strong. They had some of the best collections in the NFT space. Literally, we had Solana Summer last year. So when I look at that, I look at the communities. Do they have a strong community? And if they do, then I don't write them off, because that community could carry them right into the bull market. And, they have a solid developer base as well. That's another metric a lot of people should definitely monitor and put on their like notes, is look at the developer community. If the developer community is pretty strong, you'll probably have really good products on that chain, apps, dApps, and all that good stuff. And that definitely can drive real world use cases. And that's very important too. Like Flow Chain, Solana, AVAX, like they have they're going to have solid developers, and that's what I look at too.
Yeah. And what about the NFT space? How do you feel like that's going to evolve this time around? You think we'll see another cycle, and will it look different from the last?
It will look a little bit different. It'll look a little bit more mature, I think, too, to some regard. I think there's going to be, the wallets are looking better. The bridges are looking better. The onboarding's looking better. Games are finally starting to launch with their own NFTs in each game. So I think we're starting to see the emergence of a more mature NFT market where people aren't going to be as speculative in nature. Now, that's not entirely going to go away, because degen is a culture, and there's a lot of people with a lot of money in the space. Like a lot of these people, previously were in crypto, and they have millions and millions of dollars to spend on some of these like, goofy looking NFTs. And that's why we see these NFTs going for crazy amounts of money. Well, you never know who's behind that PFP. It's probably like a crypto multi-millionaire, if not billionaire, like buying these JPEGs up. So I don't think we'll see like degen just go away. I think people still see FOMO and that kind of like ridiculousness, but I do think we'll see more mature side of NFTs this time around. We'll see more royalty enforcement going on. That seems to be the new meta. Basie going to Magic Eden, and with their royalty enforcement, games are going to follow suit right after that. Becker's even made that clear as well around Neo Tokyo. So yeah, that's where I see a lot of NFTs being driven. I think gaming's the number one use case for NFTs moving forward, and that's okay because you know what, gaming's number one in a number one form of entertainment, grosses more than movies and music. So I'm here for it. So
Yeah. Do you think that gaming is a pathway to take crypto mainstream and legitimize it?
100%.
Because yeah, there needs to be that tipping point for normies, right?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I mean, gaming has become, it's become a pop culture. It's become the norm. You even saw like FaZe Clan, they went public with their stock, although it performed terribly. And personally, I wouldn't invest into like a gaming org stock. Maybe a DAO perhaps, because you don't have to, you don't have to necessarily worry too much more. I think, I don't know. It's just like they had bad leadership, I guess, around their company. But long story short, like gaming is pop culture. You're seeing it with streaming. You're seeing it on Kick. You're seeing it on Twitch. Ninja blew up streaming with Drake. Like the last kind of like Web 2 bull run where Fortnite was going crazy and everybody was like millions of people were pouring in. And Fortnite's still like popping off. They broke a record just like a
It's
month ago.
big again because I think they released the OG map or something like that. All I know is my son's been playing it again. He was dormant on that for a while, but now he's been playing nonstop. And I think Eminem's getting released yesterday or today or something like this.
Yeah. So Eminem got released, and you can add that to your emote. And this is what I was saying a while back when they had that first concert. I was like, Fortnite is literally like leading the way in like metaverse. So yeah, and now they have the Fortnite engine builder, so you can literally build games and maps and make money that way. And that's what a lot of people do. A lot of people build those maps, like mini games, and they make a lot of money doing it. 7 figures in some cases is what I've seen from some articles. So Fortnite is definitely not going away anytime soon.
What would happen to the space if GTA integrated crypto or NFTs?
Oh man, that would that would be a confirmed Web3 gaming bull market. Confirmed. Like that would be no question after that. And we would probably see a lot of tokens kind of send. Now it'd be the question though. The question would become though, what blockchain would they use, and then how would they integrate to blockchain? So are they going to add NFTs, or is it just going to be a payment rail? So if it's a payment rail, it'll be exciting for sure, but it'll give more credibility, I think, to Web3 gaming. And then the question becomes like, how will they integrate it? But I do think it'll hype up the space for sure. And people will be like, oh my gosh, look at games. I told you so. And the Web3 games are just going to pump for like literally that reason, just the hype.
Do you think that's possible that it could happen, or do you think it's a pipe dream?
It's hard to say. I don't know. I don't know the legality, the liability that they could face from that. Yeah. So it's hard to say. Now, if they integrated NFTs, that's going to be a more cleaner approach. Obviously Roblox is looking at NFTs now in Web3. So it's really hard to say, honestly. I think a lot of people are trying to hype it up on crypto X, crypto Twitter. But I don't know if they'll do it. Maybe they have the way you can earn in-game currency, but then you can cash it out somehow in like Bitcoin or whatever, whatever they decide. I don't think it would be Bitcoin. It'd probably be like a scalable type of token or a layer 2 or something like that. Or, but yeah, that the question becomes, how will they integrate that?
Yeah. But just the thought of it and what Caro is saying here, the trailer coming out, maybe having an effect on the whole space that's coming out like next week. And like you said, Roblox talking about integrating NFTs, just the thought of it drives the speculation and continues to feed the narrative and feed the hype. And it's bullish for the space.
Yeah, I mean, Roblox, I think it was like 40 to 50 million daily active gamers in Roblox, and they're trying to shoot for the next billion gamers. So the only way they can do that is expand out, and not only on the gaming front, but they know that they need to, pioneer things. And obviously, like I was mentioning, Web3 is one of those few use cases that's like once a generation that you can actually be a pioneer in a certain technology and integrate that into your game or business model. And I think that's a natural progression of where games are going. Once again, there, especially those secondary market transactions, you get a cut of those fees. You don't have to manage it that much as long as you just curate the NFTs, like similar again to Vivi, what Vivi was doing in-app, but in-game, you're going to see a lot of microtransactions that are going to drive a lot of revenue for these games that they look like free on the surface, but they're selling you assets, and then on the back end, they're also getting a cut too. That is a very viable business model.
The whole everything. It changes everything.
Yeah. And so gamers are having fun, developers are having fun, everybody's having fun. And then you have a persistent metaverse. And that's where Roblox already is doing that. Like they already are. And then people are going to start having aha moments, and you'll see other integrations and activations. And then, you're playing Roblox all of a sudden with a MetaQuest 3 or 4 or 5 by that time. And then we're playing with each other, like, via, in our living rooms, and I can see you can see me. And like, it's just a no brainer. So it's weird how all this is converging at the same time. So you have like the blockchain, then you have like the Web 2 gaming infrastructure, but then you have like AI. So like accelerating literally all of it. So all of this technology is converging at one single time. And it's a crazy time to be alive, man.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, some of these Web3 tokens could be very, very serious for the future, for sure.
It's amazing to watch the gains already. Like I was watching Playable. I was just watching it. I didn't buy it. It was at $1 million market cap when I was looking at it, and it went to 50 million. It did like a 50x super fast. These move so fast.
Yeah, because I was trying to get Playable on the low, and then it pumped hard, and I was like, dang it, I missed my entry on that one. But I got a couple of solid bangers that have done, I think, like a 5x just in the last few days. So I definitely have some nice little gems that are kind of hidden under the table a little bit. But we'll see. I think we'll start seeing influencers start promoting them a little bit. We'll see. I think they're a little bit micro cappy for them to mention. I think that's why we haven't seen it. I did see somebody mention they posted a chart picture today, but they didn't name the ticker. So I think they're probably on the same page as me. Like it's a little too micro cappy, but if we get so I'll say no more. I'll say less. But I mentioned it I kind of mentioned a little bit on the stream. I didn't name it specifically, but it's like we'll just say it's built around something. So we'll say that.
Interesting. People have this little Easter egg.
Yeah. When exactly.
Dino's question here: in your opinion, what could revive the OMI token? What move should be made, and in what time frame?
I've always been pretty consistent about that, around what they should do. Web3, I think they should hire Web3 people, be a little bit more transparent, clean up comms. That's been like, I think the past 2 years, I've always said that, clean up comms a little bit. Me and Ryan were kind of going back and forth. I don't know if Ryan needs to be going back and forth like on public Twitter. I don't know. There's just a couple of things I think they needed to do. Faster development, of course. They should have scaled that up a couple years ago. We need 5 Mitches and 5 Nesters, maybe. And then, I think just developing faster. I think that solves a lot of problems. I think, when you're able to scale your app and release features and put new things out there, it's okay, I think, to say we're just chilling out until regulations settle down a little bit. I think that's fine. Or I don't know what the entire solution would be there, but I think just delivering is key, and then rolling it out and on the announcement side, having a strategy for marketing. I think just kind of like those basics, I think would go a long way. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it on that end.
Yeah, I think just, what you said, delivering, just, hitting some milestones, and specifically on the OMI side. And we saw what it did when they released that first bit of utility involving MCP. It did 100% super quick. Went from the 0006 to 0012.
For sure.
So it's still, it's still in.
They do that. The one thing that I was a little upset about, which I was always excited about, is the gaming side or the gaming potential. I think I snagged and this was a year and a half ago, before all Web3 gaming was cool. I really did think VV was going to go into gaming. I don't know, I kept telling him to integrate chess or integrate whatever, and maybe they do one day. And then they had the Tengaku. I was hoping that they would hype that up a little bit and capture a little bit of that
This gaming narrative, right?
yeah, they could have it captured that like so early on and been one of the kind of front runners and integrated even more games on top of that and build off of those successes. So I think they're leaving a lot of money on the table because they're not building off of those successes because it's like you look at Artifact kept building, they got bought out by Nike, they kept building. They're adding AI to avatars, they're doing the whole like AR thing now with the NFC chips, like with the sweater, you can have wings in IRL. It's like VV was so early to that I feel like they could have just capitalized on like Web3 gaming, AR, AI, and just been like boom, boom, boom. So I feel like they kind of left a little bit on the table there, but it is what it is.
Capitalize on it in the sense of promoting it more or drawing more attention to it.
You could just release products around it, kind of like what Artifact was doing with their drops. They would drop like a shoe and you could redeem it for a physical. And they're just like executing left and right on those things. And they're one of the few projects that are at like the precipice of technology. They led an NVIDIA like keynote, or like you could go to NVIDIA's like around one of their events, and they were featured as like speaking of how they're going to integrate AI into their avatars. So they were kind of like at the cutting edge, and that was I think a year ago now. But just doing stuff like in activations around stuff like that, just talking open about not hyping it, but actually delivering on those. So I think it's okay to do that. If you don't know how, just hire somebody to know, so hire an agency or hire people that know what they're doing that can drop around that, integrate that into your app. And just capitalize on stuff like that, because we already know David he was already excited about figitals and all that stuff. So, and he did talk about AI at one point, I think, as well. So there's a lot of money in those like narratives, and then if you're just showcasing that and delivering and executing on that, and by bringing product to market, that can be a powerful thing for institutional investors and people with big money in the space.
What do you think of the VV verse and that propping things up potentially?
I don't know. That's one of those things you never know. That's why I test games before I really go out on public and say. If they do have like gameplay, I will like promote like gameplay footage or like showcase it on Twitter by posting it. If the game looks pretty good or there's some excitement around it. For VV versus no different. I treat it like it's almost like a game where I need to see a little bit more footage. I need to be in there testing it. I've been a part, like at this point, I can't even count on my fingers anymore how many games I've play tested it in alpha states early on and been able to provide feedback. But I haven't gotten access to VVverse, so I have no idea what it looks like, what it feels like, and I can't provide that feedback. So it's difficult to say, because it could, if it's clunky, it's definitely not going to prop up the token. It's just going to be as like a wait on basis, or like a wait until they fully develop, and then it could prop up the token if they have like the right features and the right things going on in the VVverse. But it's hard to say. Like I don't have a big heavy opinion on that until I get in there and like try it and see what it's all about.
Nice. Let's see what else we got. 3 failed transactions on ETH while watching the stream. Yeah, it's another indicator like that ETH sucks. You know what I'm saying? Like in terms of gas fees are rough, man. I feel Tommy's pain. I've been doing some swapping over there on MetaMask, paying $25 a transaction.
Yeah, we're back there, man. It's not even a full bull cycle. So a lot of these transactions are going to ship to layer 2s and AVAX, Solana. I think those are going to be the clear winners in the bull cycle.
Yeah.
Ethereum still benefits from all that. Like a lot of people like we can bash Ethereum, but like all these layer 2s are built on it. So
I take it back, Ethereum.
Yeah. You just got to look at it like, it's just kind of like, I guess, I don't know. There's not a good analogy, so we'll just move on. We can hate on Ethereum, but it works. It's not very good on the layer 1 level.
Yeah. We'll wrap up in about 5 minutes or so. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It's a Saturday here.
Oh, you're good.
Vidiman has a question. Kyle, are you aware of Dega? It's multi-chain ISPO metaverse gaming platform.
Dega. I don't know if I've heard of Dega. Is that like a Cardano based one?
I've never heard of it.
It's not on CoinMarketCap. So no, I don't know if I've heard of that one. That one sounds. I wonder what the market cap is on that.
What about Cardano? Any traction over there? I see people talking about cornucopias a bit.
Yeah, I think Cornucopias is one of the bigger ones. I think that's the more well-known game on Cardano. That one could definitely have potential for sure. I know Doctor Stuff, I think, was big into that one.
Yeah.
He was very early to like tell me about that one too. So
Yeah, I was just talking to him today about it.
Yeah, so shout out to Doctor Stuff on that, and then of course Becker. I think like they joined Neo Tokyo, and I've always been meaning to test cornucopias. Doctor Stuff was put me onto it. It seems like they have really good. They have a community around it. I noticed as well. So that one could definitely perform well. But again, it's hard to say if I haven't like tested it out myself. I usually wait till I have like full opinions before I talk about a game or something like that. But that one does look pretty good from what I've seen so far.
Any thoughts on Lit Lab?
Lit Lab. I don't know if I've heard of that one. So let's see, 16 mil market cap. So let's see, Web 2.5 gaming publisher and studio. So I don't think I've heard of that one, but I see it's been their partners BNB, Chains, Seedify, Nextel. So it looks like they have some pretty interesting partners. GameStarter, even I've heard of GameStarter. That one looks good. But yeah, Lit Lab Games. That doesn't ring a bell for me there. I think also I even heard Hustlepedia even mention it, but the kind of like gambling tokens as well. I think those could have a nice narrative on each chain.
Yeah, I just go ahead. You start. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say the play is, for me at least, is looking at each infrastructure token like Solana, AVAX, even Arbitrum, all those, whatever else tokens that we mentioned, like AVAX, and finding which ones are going to be like actual real good gambling apps that like have real good founders and teams building behind that product. That could be a good play too, just because those are literal cash cows.
Yeah, I was thinking that, and I was looking at the Solana ecosystem because I figure Sol's going crazy. I think it's going to continue to be a big winner. I think that's going to trickle down to within the ecosystem. So I was looking at these small caps, and I found Sol Casino. I didn't do a real deep dive on it, but I know that they have their NFTs that yield daily rewards and daily cash back. And there's Solana Bears or something like that. Sol Casino Bears.
Mm-hmm.
They were going for, when I looked them up a week and a half ago, they were going for 20 Sol, yielding $13 a day. So in 3 months, right, you'd make back your money. So it looked like an interesting project. So I threw a little money at it from my Sol gains, and it went up like 250% in like last week or so. And I just circled back to the Bears, and they're up to like almost 40 Sol.
40 Sol. Interesting.
Yeah. Really wild.
Might have to pick one up, man. Let's see, 40 Sol. That's a pretty good investment. I wonder if it's still 3 months, like break even.
Check it out.
That's interesting. Okay, yeah, I might have to check that out.
Bears.
Yeah, you're gonna have to shoot me a DM on that. I'm looking at also airdrops too. Airdrops, I know that's like off topic, but I know ZK Sync, Layer Zero, I think Linea. One of them just announced like an airdrop. They did a snapshot recently. I don't know if it was Linea, but anyways, you can farm some of these like Layer 2 airdrops. I think Arbitrum did one, and people got like a free like anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 in some cases. Wow. So that's like free money to like, you can just roll up into like these game tokens and then, follow the narrative up there. And then all of a sudden you have a come up. So it's
that's for staking the tokens, right?
So you just transact with these early like layer 2s, prominent ones that are like actually credible. You can go in and do transactions back and forth. So you can bridge from one to the other, but you also partake in their swaps. So each layer 2 will have like their own like swaps that are built by developers, and you just go in and test them and just do swaps back and forth. Like ZK Sync had a test net, so I did both on the test net and on the live, main net. So I was swapping back and forth different tokens and things like that, testing it out, and all that stuff. And they see your wallet is doing all those transactions on chain, and then they do a snapshot, and then they airdrop you tokens. Now they haven't confirmed it, but a lot of people that are very, very credible in the space will put a list together around all these like projects doing, or layer 2s and things like that, doing airdrops.
Yeah, I saw that Sol just rewarded people who were staking throughout the bear with Pith. Pith is their new oracle. Yeah, I think
yeah. Pith. There's JIT, I think, which is it's like Solana liquid staking. So you can stake your Solana and earn a yield, just like Lido on Ethereum. So that's an interesting way to earn as well. So if you have a lot of crypto in Solana or Ethereum, now you can actually go and stake that and then earn passive yield on that token. And then you can pull it out anytime. So previously, before, you had to stake and lock it up for, let's say 12 months. But now with liquid staking, that the terminology liquid means you can pull it out at any time you want to.
It's so much better. And I don't know why I didn't do it earlier, man, but I just started staking my Solana recently. And I think like 6 to 7%, depends on where you're staking at. But like,
yeah,
multiple different people, you know what I mean?
And that might not seem a lot, but for folks out there, but you got to remember Solana could go parabolic still. I mean, it's at 63, but it could be 300 before too long. And then past that, it could rip past 300 as well, given the next bull cycle. So, I think Solana's got a lot of legs there. And then 7% off of, like, after it pumps,
right.
And then
if you have a decent bag.
Yeah. And I could see Sol being one of those tokens that, like, it not only pumps, but it finds a new floor, a new support level, and it's never going to go down. So I could see that happening as well with Sol, especially with all this super bull cycle, traditional money coming in, and people got to look at it too, is like, these ETFs not only are going to pump all the altcoins, but Solana itself could have an ETF in the future.
It's a VC darling, right? They love Solana.
Yeah. Exactly. So that could be very big, especially imagine all, like, Americans with 401ks. They don't even have to think about it. Their 401k or manager just puts bags of crypto in there, and all of a sudden Solana is just building over time with Ethereum, Bitcoin, kind of same system.
Do you think there's a chance we get a Super Bowl, like the elongated cycle, and break?
I think we will. I don't know about 4 year. Yeah, it's hard to say that far out in the future. I think cycles are so pretty cyclical in nature. However, I don't think the next bear market is going to be like, I think it's going to feel like I don't think it's going to be like this one. This one is like the last.
Special.
Yeah, this one's very special. So I don't think we'll see like a hard bear unless, like, some government, like a top government in the world, just like goes kaput and, like, affects the entire, like, global market. But other than that, like, I don't think it'll be the same.
Which means then that we would have, I guess, like, diminishing losses, but then again diminishing returns on future cycles, possibly.
Yeah, and then hopefully that could be a good thing. It means you've kind of made it. And then you want to lessen your risk anyway. So then it becomes like, all right, well, which projects, then you kind of restart your research process and try to find a little bit of risky plays in there, and follow narratives and continue to roll up and win and consolidate.
Yeah. So what's in your bag that you're holding? Do you want to tell us some of it, or your portfolio?
Yeah, I have it saved here on my phone that I don't have pulled up on the list here. So I'll switch over to the gaming token. So, IMX, Axie. I'm not really big into Axie right now, but it's on my list, and that one you can't fade because, in my opinion, with Axie, you can't fade because they're building an IP and a suite of games, and it's proven that, in the charts that they definitely resurged there. Beam, I like Beam. I think, although I do think Beam is like pretty, it has went up quite a bit. Illuvium has I think a lot of legs to run. You know, it's at 115 right now. It was like 1800 almost in the bull run, and I think we'll see it maybe return to those levels. We'll see. I think it does do a 10x though. I think 1,000 Illuvium could be a possibility in a full bull run, and maybe beyond. We'll see. Non-financial advice. We have engine. I like Magic, but I want to see Magic do a little bit more in terms of their ecosystem. But that's people are a big fan of Magic because it's on Arbitrum right now, but we'll see what they do and how they integrate other games into their ecosystem. But it's supposed to be like the Nintendo of Web3.
Oh wow.
That one's just on my list. It's one of I'm just watching. Vulcan Forge, Ronin, Naka. I'm trying to pick up. I was going to pick up Polis, which is Starless's governance token, but that sucker pumped hard. So I wasn't able to get that one. Wilder World.
That's pumped too. Wilder World, I think, was pumping today.
It pumped hard.
Yeah.
It's up 64% in the last 7 days. Seedify. Let's see. Let me go down the list here. And I do now. The other ones I'm kind of watching right now are Astropher, which is Phantom Galaxies. They're an IP brand / game as well. That's one that I was talking about, like one-off games. You do have to be careful with those, but they do have Blowfish Studios behind Phantom Galaxies, and that's an Animoca-backed studio as well. So I'm kind of keeping an eye on Astropher to see if that one dips. But that one's up 12% on the week. I have Shrapnel, of course. Miria, I think so. Miria's moved. It went from 30 mil market cap to 80. So we'll see if that one's kind of retraced a little bit there, but that one, I think that one's I think that's going to go to $1 billion if they deliver. Yeah. That one's on my list. I like Ultra on the lower end of my holdings there. I know Sidus pumped. I'm not like big on Sidus though. Wagmi, of course. Altura was a nice play, but I'm actually not in Altura though. That one's just on my list after because it's pumped as well, pretty hard. And then I have some other DGen tokens that I don't want to mention here on stream.
Yeah.
I have Bytes from Illuvium, or not Illuvium, Bytes from Neo Tokyo. And that pretty much is it.
Nice.
And then I think I'm going to pick up a GambleFi token here pretty soon.
Yeah, it's good to spread out over some sectors. Just capture some of that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Bytes.
Dunn here. What's up, Johnny Dunn? Did you know Johnny Dunn just got Collector of the Month over there on Vivi?
Yo, congrats, Johnny. Yeah, dude. Yeah, Johnny, man. Dude, Johnny is like, yeah.
Johnny's amazing.
Just popping in. I'll have to go back and watch it. Yo. Yeah, man. I haven't heard from Johnny in a while, man. It's good to see
I had him
Johnny
on stream, man, maybe in summer, in August. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's chilling. He's still doing his thing, still grinding on Vivi. We'll wrap up here. Last question from JT. And JT, you won the giveaway, I believe. And from my last one of my last streams, I didn't receive your DM still. I know you said that you DM me on Twitter, but I didn't see it there. And I checked my, whatever spam account. So if you can DM me again your information, I'll make sure Dr. Rolex gets out your comic. But his question, we'll end with this one. Do you think Ultra is dead? I think you just said you had Ultra, right?
Yeah, so Ultra, that one is, I have that one downloaded on my computer, so I don't think that's dead. And I think games have been integrating with Ultra as well. So it's kind of like, let's wait and see. They're one of the first movers in the space. So no, I don't, I mean, let me see the chart here. Yeah, the charts are, I mean, maybe it's a good time to pick it up. I don't know. We'll see. It's 68 million market cap. Charts in the last year. So it's kind of consolidating sideways. So I don't know. We'll see on that one. Again, that's my like lower bag. It's my like, I don't have a big percentage of my portfolio in UOS. But yeah, my Bytes is one of my favorites though, because it's 10x to the last like month. I bought a bag before this like Web3 gaming bull run, so I've been pretty thrilled about Bytes. It's done almost like a 10x for me.
Nice.
Yeah,
You had the foresight to get on these things and track them for a long time, and that's why I wanted to have you on the channel, have you on today to share some of your insights and your knowledge. So thanks for coming through, brother. It's always great chatting with you and hearing your take on things.
yeah, no doubt, man. It's a pleasure. It's always a good time to be on your channel. Conversation's always awesome, and love to see people in the chat. Some OGs, got Johnny Dunn, I think Patience in here as well. What's up, Patient? Yeah. And yeah, shout out to everybody in the community.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone in the chat. Thanks, Kyle, for coming through. I will see you in the next one.
All right, later.